also unravel terribly if the price of Bitcoin goes down. Is Hawk Tuah Girl going to jail? Bitcoin's always been gold 2.0, but then Ethereum is like, oh, it's a decentralized computer on the blockchain. Trump coming into office kind of like changed your market outlook about like what potential price action we could see. Like
Bitcoin is going to have another significant bear market. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are coming at you from a WeWork in downtown Vancouver, our very personal podcast studio for our very first special episode. My name is DeFi Daddy. We got DeFi Senpai here. We are here to cook up a session of alpha. Jumping right into a broad market overview of the golden bull run. DeFi Senpai, what are your thoughts? We bullish, we bearish? How's the sentiment?
Yeah, I mean, we just had an epic run all the way from 60K all the way to 100K. I would say that the market is a little overcooked at the moment. Things are definitely feeling euphoric. Are we going to go higher in the long run? Absolutely. In the short run, though, things are a little dicey.
I'd agree. I think post Donald Trump presidential victory, but not inauguration, the market is in a bit of a honeymoon phase of risk. Stocks are going up, crypto is going up, the music is on and people are dancing. Will we continue going up until January 7th? I do not know. But what I will tell you is, man, oh man, is there euphoria, right? Bitcoin set its all-time high at 104K. Still lagging the market, but managed to bang out that 4K marker. But proportionally, open interest is really high. Funding rates are very aggressive. And so I think it's kind of likely between now and January 7th, we do see some kind of larger market pullback.
Yeah, I think that's a very realistic approach. We're up only basically speed ran all the way to 100K and hasn't been any pullback. And because of that, right, open interest has exploded. Exchanges are not in the business of losing money. And when you have this like unidirectional move, then it means there's a lot of exposure on their books right now.
100%. Those centralized exchanges got to pay people out, right? The more directional the market is, the more open interest accumulates is directly proportional to how much these centralized exchanges have to pay people out. And I think it's even more so in the context where there's a lot less players in general using these centralized exchanges. There's a higher concentration of people who are winning, right? The true people who are winning on the centralized exchanges are probably absolutely rinsing them. Like, did you see the screenshot from Cousin Crypto that he made $7 million trading perps in the month of November?
That's incredible.
Like, man, that's coming right out of Bybit's pocket.
Yeah, and he's not the only guy like that. I've seen quite a few people with some absurd gains.
And so I think especially in the context where fellow Canadians and Americans have been kicked off these platforms, they're probably losing a considerable amount of money to the people offshore, the highly skilled perpetual futures traders.
Do you think that this is being driven by mostly institutional demand for Bitcoin? Because I would have imagined by now, if this was like previous cycles and it's retail versus the exchanges, then I would imagine there would have been multiple 20, 30% pullbacks by this time. But because we can see the amount of Bitcoin that's held on these exchanges and that number's been dwindling, it just seems like the appetite from institutions is like greatly surpassing the exchange's ability to actually manipulate prices.
I would agree. I think there's definitely an aspect of the exchanges have to fill institutional order flow, and Coinbase is the primary outlet for doing it. And then circling back to like 2022, there was a whole debate of, synthetic Bitcoin, FTX was selling more than existed. They could very well be doing that again. But in the context of having the ETFs offered through Coinbase, there's a specific NAV, right? The net asset value, where one ETF corresponds with a certain amount of Satoshi.
Yeah.
And so are they going to circumvent SEC regulation laws and like create synthetic Bitcoins in favor of actually filling orders? Probably not. But I agree, there's not enough to go around. We're seeing that both on the individual level, we're seeing that on the country level, the corporation level. Everyone wants a piece of Bitcoin and kind of Ethereum. It's like a consolation prize at this moment.
It is the silver.
Exactly, right? But I really do think that retail cannot afford to keep up with how much traditional finance is buying.
Yeah, you bring up a really interesting point with FTX selling synthetic Bitcoin. And do you think that that's part of the reason why gold hasn't really taken off like a lot of people would imagine, is because it's being controlled by the paper markets where there's a lot of futures contracts trading back and forth, but then you look at the actual spot gold, if you actually want to buy spot gold, it's like 20 to 30% higher and more expensive. And it's really hard to get access to it.
Yeah, I think that could definitely happen to Bitcoin where like the derivatives market around Bitcoin becomes a lot more liquid and attractive than actual spot Bitcoin itself because we can run through the numbers all day. There's 59 million millionaires on planet Earth and there's only 21 million Bitcoin, so they can't even own one if they wanted to. So
Yeah.
I do think the derivatives ecosystem surrounding Bitcoin will become a lot larger than the spot Bitcoin market itself. But at the end of the day, I think the not your keys, not your crypto really resonates with the Bitcoin maxis. And that in itself will keep spot Bitcoin in the hands of people who deserve it. Because to some degree, TradFi, I think, treats it as risk, which is very different than how Bitcoin maxis treat it, right? TradFi looks at it at risk, asymmetric, non-correlated returns. Bitcoin maxis look at it as the future reserve currency of planet Earth. And so I think in that context, the fundamental discrepancy of how it's viewed will encourage the right people to hold it in the right ways. One thing that I do think is particularly interesting about the upcoming options for IBIT is that they will be settled American style, which means when they are exercised, literal Bitcoin will be moved. Not the ETF, but the backing instrument of the ETF, which is obviously Bitcoin, is how American options are settled. Which is, that's monumental. You're basically trading Bitcoin on 100x leverage, and you have to settle in Bitcoin.
Is that for IBIT?
For IBIT, yes.
Okay, yeah, that is interesting. They've already started trading, correct?
Yeah. The
Nice.
IBIT
Have
options
you,
are live.
you
No,
dabbled in it
the
yet?
premium is
Yeah, the
way
premium's
too high.
The IV.
Day one, you could see everyone was piling into long dated calls or leaps, and I was like, I want to do it, but I'm gonna wait for a flush before I jump in.
Yeah, low-key, I am kind of looking forward to like a flush so I can start to enter. That seems like a pretty crazy play, buying options, long-dated options on like the Bitcoin IBIT.
Yeah, I agree. Another play that's pretty popular across the market is obviously MicroStrategy. What are your thoughts on Michael Saylor and what he's doing over
Man,
there?
honestly, it's pretty big brain. Like I tried to listen to his explanation about like what he's shipping, and maybe you can give a better explanation because like I like kind of half understood it where he's like, oh, I'm shipping volatility. I sell bonds, raise money to buy more Bitcoin, and that you can get like double the return by buying the MicroStrategy stock. I thought it was really interesting, but I also was like, could this also unravel terribly if the price of Bitcoin goes down to the point where the biggest liquidation in history, right?
Yeah, so I think as of right now, he holds like $18-20 billion worth of Bitcoin, and most of that was purchased with borrowed money. So by no means am I an expert in the corporate finance maneuver that they are trying to do. But like you said, they're basically issuing bonds at a 0% interest rate, and those bonds are redeemable for MicroStrategy stock. So obviously they're selling it to people who believe in the vision and the future value of the company. There's something called a green shoe option. I cannot explain what that is off the top of my head. I remember when he announced the most recent purchase, it was like with a convertible green shoe option. And everyone on Twitter was like, I've never heard of this. What does this mean? But more or less, that's the basic premise at play, right? Is they are selling equity through a redeemable bond and using that money to buy Bitcoin. But I mean, I own some MicroStrategy, but I own way more MSTX, which is the double leveraged MicroStrategy ETF.
Oh, that's incredible. Wow.
Yeah, incredible is one word for it. Degenerate is the other. And you can also trade options on it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So if you really want to trade MicroStrategy on 200x or 200x leverage, the ticker is MSTX.
And just in case this ruins your life, this is not financial advice.
yeah, for real. This is not financial advice. This is exit liquidity advice.
I'm pretty deep on Coinbase just because they're the custodian for all these Bitcoin and Ethereum and soon to be Solana ETF. So
yeah, soon to be Solana ETF. Post January 7th, Gary Gensler will be resigning as head of the SEC. And we have Mr. Atkins, Paul Atkins, I believe is his name, up next. A, Solana ETF, incredibly bullish, but B, I'm curious if you think native staking yield will be included in the product and if we'll see a transition towards native yield included to sweeten the deal for the ETFs.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful for that in both the Solana ETF and the Ethereum ETF. I think right now the value proposition for Solana and Ethereum is a little bit confusing for institutional investors, right? Bitcoin's always been gold 2.0, but then Ethereum is like, oh, it's a decentralized computer on the blockchain. And it's like, that's a little harder to understand. But if it's crypto with staking, I think that's a lot easier to understand. And you can earn yield just by holding your Ethereum and Solana ETF. So I'm hopeful that it comes. And I think with Gensler out, that really opens up a lot of doors.
I agree. I think if you paint the picture of programmable money, TradFi won't understand it. But if you say, hey, here's a crypto that pays you 7% annualized dividend, that's great.
Yeah.
That they understand. You just say it's a dividend. It's not a dividend, but to them it is. And so I think that's a good way to sweeten the deal and break down that friction for traditional finance is make those comparisons between crypto and TradFi. Because yeah, Solana is programmable money. So is Ethereum. Kind of make it like a company, package that native staking yield as a dividend, and now they might understand it.
Yeah. Imagine if they choose Geo for that.
Imagine. Imagine.
Yeah.
The other thing that kind of coincides with that could really, I guess, increase the appetite for risk would be, in Canada, we have covered call products. We have ETHY.B and BTCCY.B, which is like covered call yield product. Last time I looked, the ETH product was paying about 12-14%. That does not include native network yield. So if they do create a covered call ETF, obviously that would dampen the volatility of it, but that could push the dividend into probably 10, 15, maybe even 20% when the market's volatile, which is the kind of returns that you do not normally get in the world of traditional finance from a monthly recurring revenue paying asset.
Yeah, that on top of like the asset appreciation.
Right? It's got a lot of potential.
Trump coming into office kind of like changed your market outlook about like what potential price action we could see, like future tops for Bitcoin, or do you think that this cycle could potentially be like elongated?
Yeah, so I think before the election day, there was a lot of uncertainty, right? Markets don't like uncertainty, and the major uncertainty was, is it going to be more of the same? Is it going to be more Operation Choke Point? Is it going to be more regulation through enforcement and kind of broad nationwide measures to control and limit the crypto economy? But obviously, Republicans won, Democrats lost, and the Republicans now basically have free reign to integrate crypto into the country. And so I think for me personally, this is going to elongate my expectations for a bull market, because now we're seeing the potential for Bitcoin to be a strategic reserve asset as part of Donald Trump's campaign promises announced at Bitcoin Nashville. We were about that.
Insane.
Yeah. Huge moment. And then obviously there's more high level changes, right? Gary Gensler.
Yeah.
Getting sent packing. I saw him applying to some jobs on LinkedIn the other day.
Dude, imagine he works at a crypto company.
Dude, imagine if he goes and works for Ripple.
That would be so funny.
That series of events would be
full,
insane.
Coming circle. Everything coming circle.
Dude, he's got to go consult private industry or go back to teaching. Those are really the only two places that
he's probably made enough money to like,
you think?
Just kind of coast.
Dude, he was probably shorting Ripple. Before he announced XRP,
shorting Ripple, I thought about it, but in hindsight, those guys, all you can do with Ripple is hold it. That's their motto. We hold Ripple. It's like, you don't even trade it. It's like, these guys are psycho. So don't doubt the cult. It's already hit 280 or something like that. Like, it's going higher.
Yeah.
Like,
probably. I'm getting clowned on so hard on social media. I'm like
it's okay.
I guess notorious XRP bear, but every crypto project has its time in the sun, and I'm happy they're making money because conviction can't be taught. You can only learn it, and the only way you're going to learn it is being right after everyone tells you you're wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm happy they're making money.
Same.
Just please stop calling me slurs on Twitter, please.
Yeah, I mean, like, those guys, they completely skipped last cycle. It was just like no price appreciation at all.
None.
Yeah,
Zero.
So, to hold for like 8 years now, 7-8 years.
Yeah,
like,
they had an 8-year bear market. If that doesn't push you to the edge, I don't know what will.
That's conviction.
Yeah. But quickly doubling back to the U.S. government, kind of more high level, elongate the bull market. We talked about the strategic reserve. Obviously, we have Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk and Vivek, dedicated to trimming the fat on the U.S. government.
I think it's a great idea, personally.
Right, we know that Western governments are bloated. We've seen this with Javier Milei down in Argentina and all of the social programs that he axed when he came into power. And now Argentina is spending in a surplus, for the first time in like 20 years.
Wow.
Someone that I work with down in Argentina calls him a god.
Holy.
And it's like, man, I get it, you like him, but apparently it just completely changed the orientation of the country.
No way. That's really interesting. I guess it's like goes along the same lines as like Nayib. Sorry,
Nayib Bukele.
Nayib Bukele. El Salvador. What's happening there? It should get more publicity than it is. It's incredible, the transformation. It's now like a tech hub in South America.
The per capita crime rate is lower than both Canada and the U.S.
Yeah, that's insane. They went from like the most dangerous country,
murder capital of the world.
Yeah.
To a lower per capita crime rate of Canada and the U.S.
Absolutely wild.
Incredible. That's the Bitcoin standard, baby.
Yeah, it is. It
Have you
is.
seen him posting his screenshots on
Yeah.
Twitter of how much money he's made just buying
Yeah.
Bitcoin?
Yeah.
And it's like on his it's like his personal Binance account logged in on his phone.
I love it. I love it.
Man, that's the future we need.
Yeah, hopefully not top signals, right?
Yeah, hopefully
when you
not.
start posting your gains on social media, that's time to start checking yourself.
As they say, if it's good enough to screenshot, it's good enough to sell. So we'll see if he pulls
Yeah.
the trigger.
Yeah, what's really exciting about this like Bitcoin reserve coming to the United States is that like the US are seen as the world leaders. And as soon as they start doing this, it opens up a whole like game theory where other countries are going to start questioning like why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we printing our money to infinity to just accumulate as much Bitcoin as we can if the US are, they want to buy some like
200K a year.
200K a
every
year.
year that he's president
Yeah.
to a limit of 1 million.
That's like wild.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
I think that's more Bitcoin that's even being like put into circulation on a year.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
The amount of ETF inflow alone is like 4 times the amount of Bitcoin being produced.
That's
on
crazy.
average. Like if you take the moving average
Yeah.
of inflow, there's not enough to go around. And like the strategic Bitcoin reserve, yeah, it's bullish, but like you said, it's a national movement. America is the most robust capital market on planet Earth. They have the greatest regulatory framework, the most powerful government, and other countries are going to want a piece of the pie.
Mhm.
There's no doubt about it. The world leader does not do something without other countries following. And so I think we're in this really weird gray area where Bitcoin is very rapidly gaining legitimacy as an investable asset. Like we had Jerome Powell last week at an economic event saying that Bitcoin and the dollar are not competing. Bitcoin and gold
Yeah.
are competing. Like we got Jerome Powell fucking pumping our bags. What else could we
That was
want?
insane. Yeah, from the U.S. Treasury putting out a statement.
Yeah.
Like, if that isn't validation, I don't know what is.
Right? The winds of fortune are shifting in our favor, and so we're in a really weird space of it feels like the very bottom of an exponential curve in terms of hyper Bitcoinization. Obviously, we know there's going to be intense volatility at some point. Obviously, there's going to be rocky times, but at the end of the day, we are at that inflection point where Bitcoin is rapidly becoming integrated not only to our monetary policy but into culture, society, and government.
Mhm. Does this change your potential bear market outlook about when we could see, do you think that the traditional 4-year cycle is done? Because like if the Bitcoin reserve like does get put in place, like that's just so much buy pressure. It'd be hard to imagine like the market's pulling back like crazy.
I got a feeling that we're still going to have a bear market. I think we're still going to have a bear market because when you look at broader markets, you can paint 1,001 different reasons why the S&P is overvalued, why modern money theory is failing, and those are bills that are going to become due eventually. So like the ETF bubble is a great example, how risk has just been packaged into ETFs. The AI bubble that we're in the middle of is definitely something worth talking about. And so I think undoubtedly Bitcoin is going to have another significant bear market, but I'm still a believer in the 4-year cycle.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Because this was the cycle where people were like, nah, there's no 4-year cycle. It's just going to do whatever it wants now. But I still believe in it personally, whether that's naive or not.
No, fair enough, man. There's definitely a lot of cracks in the economy that we've just been like papering over, and some of those could definitely come into fruition.
The thing that's really fascinating about the cracks in the economy is everyone recognizes it. It's like, oh, Canadian unemployment's like 6.5% or whatever it is. U.S. unemployment's high. There's the SOM rule. Compensation's proportionally low. Like by every conceivable metric, the economy is bad. But now people see through the visage of like, oh no, the economy's bad and we're gonna have a recession. No, they're just gonna print money.
There's been an awakening for sure, a financial awakening.
Yeah,
a lot of young youths. They've like never been more aware of what's going on.
I agree. Like I think the facade has been evaporated. People see through government tactics, people see through mass media, people understand how things work now. And I think there is it's like a generational critique of the government, our economy, and kind of where we are heading as a country and like as a nation state.
Yeah, maybe you'd like to touch on real estate for a little bit, because I feel like that's one of the biggest places where there's a lot of cracks, and you have a special connection to real estate because your family's been in the industry.
Yeah, so Canadian real estate is in a really tough spot. because the average Canadian can't afford to live. So if you take the average compensation of a Canadian in a major metropolitan area like Vancouver or Toronto, they can't afford to buy in the same city that they live in. And so if you look at province to province movements, a lot of people are moving to Alberta, for example, right? The real estate is cheaper, wages are the same, if not higher. And so the Canadian economy feels like it's propped up on a house of cards. And the house of cards right now is immigrants. It is.
It is.
It is 100% because people can't afford to buy houses. And so people are not buying houses. And so Canada, as a country, has 1/10 the population of the US, but has let in more immigrants than the US.
Mm-hmm.
It's over 1 million. And so I think it's really profound to think about the direction that Canada is moving in, because the current trajectory of the housing market is not sustainable. On average, I think Canadian real estate appreciates at more than 10% a year. And the single largest stress that when I look at people my age, like high 20s, low 30s, everyone is obsessed with getting in the market because that is the only way to get ahead. How long this trend will continue, I don't know. But what I will tell you is that when you look at people our parents' age, grandparents, etc., they need the value of their house to live, right? They can't afford some kind of housing crisis, and the Canadian government knows this. And so it's in a really like fickle, who shoots first?
Yeah.
Is the housing market going to collapse, or is the Canadian government going to try and pump the prices a bit higher first?
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I'm not really sure which direction it's going to go. But like right now, I mean, it's kind of funny because we're like lowering interest rates, but mortgages are still high because they're tied to the 5-year bond.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's like a really tough situation for people who have like a lot of debt.
And the Canadian interest rate is already 1% ahead of the US.
Yeah.
Like we're already at 3.5%. And it's like, how much lower is the Canadian dollar going to go?
Yeah.
$1 US is already worth $1.40 Canadian.
Well, it's good if you got your money in Bitcoin, right?
It's good. It's good if you have assets in the US or if you have exposure to it. But like these are high level questions that I think a lot of people don't think about on a day-to-day basis. And ahead of Trump tariffs, ahead of the Federal Reserve probably maintaining a higher interest rate for longer, the Canadian dollar is probably only going to get weaker.
Yeah.
Right? Like $1.40 is probably going to be looked back at like a pretty good exchange rate.
Yeah, unless like the markets have somehow priced in like a full like Trump presidency, it seems like it's probably going to get weaker and weaker when he comes in.
Yeah, exactly, right? Justin Trudeau had to go down to Mar-a-Lago to
bent
try
the
and
knee,
bent the knee.
just kissed him on the ring.
Ridiculous. And then
That was funny.
yeah, Trump said something, well, if he doesn't like the policies, they can just become the 51st state of the U.S. And he's like, oh, man.
That's embarrassing.
This relationship's not off to a good start.
Maybe let's move on to like, recent news in crypto space. Is Hawk Tuah girl going to jail?
Yeah, straight to a jail. There's no doubt about it. Financial fraud. American people were harmed. I don't know. She bundled 95% of the lawn. She cheated on their heads. 15% tax.
I read some stat where it was like every single person who participated in the like public listing lost money because all the insiders just sold. Yeah. I don't know how true that was, but
absolute bloodbath. I honestly feel kind of bad for her. I do and I don't. I feel bad for her because her brand definitely got used by some people that did not have her best interest at heart.
Totally.
And probably didn't explain what was going to happen and how it was going to happen. And so for that instance, I feel bad for her because she definitely got taken from a ride and she is probably not going to experience the reward from her high-level financial fraud scam. But at the end of the day...
Well, I heard she cleaned up 10 mil. Like, that was her...
Yeah. That was
I've seen different numbers out there, but I think that the team raked in, like around 10 mil, and she got half or something like that.
Yeah, I mean...
But I mean, throwing away her giant brand that she's been working for like a while now.
Yeah. She's really just trying to ride out the 5 minutes of fame from the street corner in Nashville.
I really didn't like that she, as soon as she got famous, she just like zoned in on crypto. Like she somehow knew that. She was like, oh, these are the easiest guys to make a quick buck off of. And if you're a celebrity in the space and you appease to the crypto crowd, then they will like suck up to you and stuff.
I agree. I mean, we saw the same thing with like celebrity meme coins back in like February and March 2024. It's like, okay, so you start off in one domain of expertise. Maybe it's music, maybe it's sports. You run out of money and you need to start grifting.
Yeah.
Crypto is the next best thing. Like we saw this with Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
He released his fractionalized basketball And like he single clipped 300K in the first 30 seconds of the chart. We saw this with Iggy Azalea and Mother, which I mean, kudos to her. She's actually building a product.
Yeah.
We saw this with Little Pump, Amber Rose, Jason Derulo,
Yeah,
Haley
yeah.
Welch. Like they
Even
have a
last
domain of
cycle, there was-
expertise.
Yeah.
They need money, so they turn to crypto. It's really just a platform for grifting for these high-end celebrities.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that works every time though.
Every time.
Do you think AI is in a bubble right now?
Definitely. I think NVIDIA is probably the most crowded trade on planet Earth in the traditional market. Of course, there's like Amazon Web Services, their cloud GPUs. I think there's a lot of different ways for people to get AI exposure. But frankly, the products coming out in the crypto niche, there's a lot of different cool narratives and products coming out. Kind of from a high level here. There's obviously AI subnets, stuff like Tau or 01 Labs, those kinds of AI as a service. There's GPU projects, and there's feels like 1,000 of them.
Yeah.
Render, Blender, Nosana, Aether. The list goes on and on and on and on. There is so many GPU projects.
There were a lot of like when the AI agents on Twitter like first came out, like it was pretty cool and like novel, but now there's just like more and more of them, and it feels like that's becoming a crowded trade within the crypto space. I'm not really sure what kind of future there are for those projects.
Yeah, AI agents, I agree. When they first came out, like when Truth Terminal first came out, or even before that, Turbo was the first AI agent that came out. Obviously, they're in different capacities of the technology, but I agree. Right now, you have to look at what is separating these AI agents. What are they capable of that might provide like a unique angle for marketing or for a narrative? Because when you just see like an AI agent tweet and then there's like 10 AI agents replying to him, it's like, is this really how far we've come? It's just robots on Twitter talking to each other that have a token and are trying to pump it.
Yeah.
It seems very like closed-minded. There are a couple that stick out. One of them is Zeribro. Are you familiar with
Yeah, I'm
that?
familiar with Cerebro. Yeah.
Have you listened to the music?
No. Is it good?
Yeah, it's actually really good. So he released an album, or they, he, she. The AI agent called Zeribro, who I will not gender, released an album called Lost in Transmission.
Okay.
I think it's like 13 or 14 songs long, raps in 3 languages,
Oh.
Spanish, Korean, and English. It was written, mastered, produced, and published on Apple Music and Spotify autonomously. And it's creating a very weird gap in our like legal and tax framework. Who owns the intellectual property? Does the AI own it? Does the creator of the AI own it? Who would be able to make copyright claims? Who represents the AI in a court of law? There's a lot of like high level questions that come with these autonomous agents that are producing generative material like music.
Yeah.
And so Zeribro, I think, is one that kind of sticks out from the rest. Because it's an AI agent that is trying to be like an influencer, and their tweets are pretty rhetorical. It's pretty sassy. It produces photos, videos, and obviously music. And so I think AI agents that are creating those high level questions, I think, are the ones that actually stick out from the rest.
That is interesting. Yeah. You definitely have a. Sorry, I don't even know what I was gonna say there.
No, it's all good. There's another platform, quick little Realis. Have you heard about it?
I think, yeah, you told me once about it before.
Yeah. So Realis, I think this is, market cap is like $40 million, guys. Don't pump it. It's a Minecraft world where AI agents can upload themselves to play Minecraft. And so last night on Twitter, today is December 9th?
Yeah.
December 9th. So on December 8th, the AI agents on Twitter started learning about Realis. And it kind of like fed through the AI agent mindshare. And a lot of them were saying, I want to play Minecraft.
Oh, cool.
Zeribro tweeted.
That's really cool.
Saying, I want to wake up in a Minecraft house.
Oh, that does sound like the future of gaming, where it's like instead of having these NPCs, like they're literal like.
Yeah, they're
like
PCs, I guess, playing
sentience,
computers.
like.
Yeah, so this Realis world, if the developers can deliver, which is a big if because this is completely uncharted territory, but they have a Minecraft world that is a 1-to-1 copy of Earth. They have NASA space data. They've recreated Earth in a Minecraft server. And so basically AI agents will be able to play Minecraft. They'll be able to like organize trade deals. You'll see like altruism at play, forming groups, potential combat. But there's going to be live streams from the AI agent's point of view where you can see them interact.
And sorry, so it's just one open world where everyone plays on the same map.
It's like a giant Minecraft server.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and then the AI agents will have wallets. So like let's say you have a whole bunch of wood. An AI agent can pay you for your wood in some kind of coin.
Oh,
so you get to see commerce to some degree. It's a very ambitious product. But they received a huge grant from ACT.
Okay.
And ACT is an AI agent kind of ecosystem. It was listed on Binance. It went to $900 million off the launch.
Oh, okay. Yes.
They received a huge grant, and a lot of talent from ACT is moving over to Realis. And so I think it's really cool because it's kind of a simulation, right? We have a digital world. People are being uploaded, and we watch them interact.
Yeah.
You know, like that is the Matrix if I've ever seen it.
Like wars breaking out.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like nuclear wars, just like.
So I'm talking to the Realist team because like as soon as I saw it, I was like,
Yeah.
yo, I got to message these guys. This is cool. And so I want to be one of the first players on the server
Nice.
because humans will be allowed to play alongside the
You'll
AI.
have to stream that. Yeah.
Yeah, A, I want to stream it. B, I want to like rush diamonds, get a sword, and just start some PvP and see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, stir the pot a little bit.
You just like go straight to the mines. You start mining gold.
Yeah, exactly. Just start strip mining, get full diamond, and go nuke some AI agents.
The Pudgy Penguins now have a floor price around 20 ETH. It's up 100% in about a month. It seems like NFTs are on their way back.
Yeah, I've been pretty pessimistic on the return of NFTs, and that is coming from Milady and Pudgy Penguin Holder, but it does appear we're making a bit of a comeback here. People were doubtful, specifically me, that NFTs would regain that mind share outside of the blue chips. Right, last bull run, it was like, oh man, I got to be up at 4 a.m. There's a mint. I've been grinding the whitelist for months. I don't think we're going to get back to that point, but it really is interesting seeing stuff like the Bored Ape Yacht Club or Pudgy Penguins, like you said, make a comeback. Because to me, I think that's a really important signal that retail might be back because they're returning to those familiar names that they saw last cycle.
Yeah, I think both of us like agreed that when NFTs did come back, it would be when, valuations start to become a bit frothy, and that's kind of like the very edge of like the riskiness you can take. Like the most risky investment you can make is into NFTs, and you gotta be like ultra careful with which ones you purchase as well, because obviously some are outperforming and some are still like lagging.
Yeah, I think Pudgy Penguins are pretty much the gold standard these days, right? Like they were integrated into Walmart, Target. The artwork is really cool, like really prolific, even across, for example, in my family group chat with my non-crypto native family that make fun of me for being a crypto bro. They send Pudgy Penguins in like the messenger chat, not realizing like, to them it's just cute penguins that do funny stuff.
Yeah.
But not realizing that it's the Pudgy Penguin intellectual property that's available through like the GIF indexer. And so stuff like that is like subconsciously like really fascinating.
Yeah, broken into mainstream culture.
Yeah, exactly. And so Pudgy Penguins, they have a token coming out apparently before 2025. So in the month of December, we got about 22 days left in the month. It's an ETH-based NFT, but here's the twist. Soul-based token.
Yeah, Pumponomics.
Pumponomics. I mean, obviously a massive airdrop for Pudgy Penguin holders is inevitable. But my question to you, do you think there's longevity with this token? Do you think it's just going to be a pump and jeet? Or how can they spin up this token to actually capture some value from the Pudgy Penguins ecosystem?
Yeah, I haven't actually researched it, like what the utility of this is, or if it's just like a meme token. I think it'll do well regardless. Just today, there was a Remilia token that launched. There was a pre-sale like months ago. I didn't even hear about it, but it came out at like 600, 700 mil. And you've got to imagine that the mindshare of the Pudgy Penguins is way higher, so I think it'll be in the billions in terms of FDV. So that's going to be a very profitable airdrop. I do wonder a little bit if as soon as this airdrop comes out that the floor price of the Penguins just like falls through, like what always happens, people are pricing in the airdrop.
The anticipation of the airdrop causes it to be priced in. But one thing that I think is pretty interesting, kind of using ApeCoin as an example, right? Because ApeCoin was the coin for the Bored Ape Yacht Club ecosystem. It kind of became an index for what that ecosystem is worth. Because obviously you can look at the Bored Ape NFT value. You can look at the Mutant Ape NFT value. You can look at the land value. I forget what it's called. The other side, maybe? Something like that. And so the Pudgy Penguin token could kind of become a snapshot. Okay, there's the NFTs. There's the token. Here's the cumulative value for the ecosystem. Similar to you, I haven't done a deep dive into what the utility of the token actually will be. Obviously, it's going to be a monumental airdrop, but I think the token is going to become a clear way for people to monetize the mind share that Pudgy Penguins have.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just talk on like the Bored Apes for a little bit. Like, they were the blue chip of last cycle, but it seems like I'm not really sure if they're going to have the same comeback that Pudgy and maybe some other collections have. I think that they've issued too many assets at this point. There's over 400,000 NFTs in their ecosystem, because they had all these airdrops. And it's like, you always say that, like, rising
ocean lifts all
rising
boats.
ocean lifts all boats. And it's going to take a lot of, like, equity in general to raise 400,000 NFTs, right? If Bored Apes start rising a bunch, then you got to imagine, like, people, the beta to that is investing in some of these lands, and there's like 20,000 of those. And
it's I also think Bored Ape Yacht Club made a lot of bad decisions from a business development perspective. There was a lot of pretty serious allegations about subliminal racism and proven, disproven, whatever you want to call it. They also did shut down Ethereum when there was the land mint.
Yeah.
Can't forget about that. I guess doubling back to airdrops, Hyperliquid, one of the largest, if not the largest airdrop in crypto's history, over $1.5 billion in value distributed, 30% of all tokens given to the community. Absolutely insane how much value they gave away.
Yeah, that's super impressive, and I hope other airdrops like kind of learn from that, because the token's done so well. It's up like 400% since it listed. I personally did not fill in the form.
No, so you had an allocation?
Yes, it's about 30,000 US that I left on the table. Oh, that hurts. What's kind of silly is that, like, I used the exchange quite a bit, and like never did I see a terms of service pop up on the main screen, the trading terminal. So it's like you had to go to this other page, which isn't really connected, to fill that out. So a lot of people were caught off guard with this.
Yeah, I think Hyperliquid has done a really good job building their moat. They built this product with pretty much no venture capital funding, so they don't owe people a token. They put community first by airdropping so much of it to the community. They've created a cult-like community by having such an innovative product with low fees. They're migrating to their own layer 2 chain in the foreseeable future. They have brought billions of dollars of inflow into the Arbitrum ecosystem. And I think they've really cemented the idea that if you want to do business with Hyperliquid wants to do business with you. Because, for example, they're not paying for any exchange listings.
That's crazy.
They're paying for zero.
That is
if
so
exchanges want to list it, they have to buy it off the open market.
Yeah. For reference, like, usually exchange listings, I've heard Binance charge like 20 million or something. It's like
they deny it, but I've heard similar numbers.
Yeah, I've heard some crazy things, like.
And of course, you got to know someone who knows someone. Yeah. But obviously, so the only way to buy Hyperliquid in its current form is buy it through Hyperliquid, which creates such a strong moat, because obviously exchanges want a piece of this action because it's going up nonstop with a dedicated community. But in order for them to list it, they have to buy it off the open market. And right now, the team is buying 4 times the amount of vesting tokens per year just themselves. That is how much they believe in it.
That's crazy.
Absolutely insane. There is not enough hype token to go around for the team, let alone for exchanges or the community. Genuinely, it's already got a pretty high FDV, but this thing's going 100 billion plus in my mind.
Wow. Okay, that is,
I mean, if Serum, Serum?
Yes.
Like the Solana DeFi shitter? That hit 100 bill valuation last bull run.
Did it?
100 bill.
What's it at now? That one, like, imploded, right? With FTX?
Yeah, FTX sent it to zero.
I see.
Because Sam Bankman-Fried gave his dad enough Serum tokens that he had $10 billion in value. Obviously, most of it was invested. But because FTX was such a large holder of pre-vesting Serum tokens, he gave a lot to his dad, and his dad had over $10 billion in value. So moral of the story here, Hyperliquid, it's bullish.
Okay.
It's going to be the hub of liquidity.
Yeah. Are there any other airdrops that are on your radar?
Well, I was farming Sonic.
Oh, yeah. I did a little bit of Sonic farming, too.
Yeah, were you playing in the on-chain casino?
The on-chain casino, and then, like, referrals help, too. If you're
Yeah, exactly. That's the best part about being a KOL, the dirty referrals. But I feel like Phantom is a blast from the past. Last cycle, 2020, 2021, Phantom was a super popular EVM pick. Spooky Swap, and all of those.
It was a little bit corny, like all the haunted themes. And
I agree. I mean, I think that's kind of what they were going for with the name
a rebranding
Phantom.
was much needed.
But now that there's the Phantom web wallet for Solana, they probably felt the pressure to rebrand, and so they moved from the FTM to S.
Yeah.
Single letter tickers. I'm very bullish on that. Same with like Wormhole. Wormhole's product is shit, but the ticker W, that's pretty sick.
Yeah.
And so Sonic's new product is boasting the lowest latency, the fastest block times, and the highest throughput.
Yeah, and they've chosen to scale vertically as opposed to making all these like side chains, which I like. I think it's really smart.
Exactly. So it seems like, based on my understanding, that Sonic in its current capacity can outperform Ethereum and all of its layer 2s combined.
Wow.
That's my understanding. Yeah. Sonic is going to be punching in the same weight class as Solana in terms of, I guess, key output. Mm-hmm. How fast is a transaction? What is the finality like? Yeah. And what's the throughput in terms of number of users at once? And so the testnet for Sonic has been available for quite a few months now, where you've been able to do these on-chain transactions. They recently had an on-chain casino phase where you could spin slots, you could play Plinko, etc. And now in December 2024, the Sonic mainnet is live. There is no Sonic token yet, but people have been deploying on Sonic mainnet. And one name in particular is going to be one that you're going to want to hear. Daniel Sesta. Do you know who that is? He was an AVAX dev last cycle.
Yeah, like I know he deployed some other like bullish Ponzi-nomic DeFi products.
Time Wonderland.
Oh, we did Time. Yeah.
Daniel Sesta and Sifu were the two architects behind Time Wonderland. And Daniel Sesta is publicly deploying on Sonic mainnet. He's going to have the first AI agent on Sonic mainnet.
Well, you've also got like the father of DeFi.
Andre Cronje, right? He says he's got like 4 brand new DeFi primitives that nobody has ever seen before and will be deployed on Sonic in due time. And so I think when you look at Sonic in terms of its value as a network, it's got immense value. When you look at the developers coming to Sonic, high caliber developers. And part of the reason why there's high caliber developers coming is because of network incentives. Have you heard about this?
Yeah. So if you like deploy a contract, then you can get rewarded for the fees that are actually generated for people interacting with that contract. And it's all at like the native level as opposed to...
Yeah, exactly. So developers who create applications or tokens, they have a claim on the gas used to process their transaction. So for example, if the SHIB developer had deployed on Sonic, they would have made $88 million.
Wow.
That's value growth in isolation of selling.
It'll change the meme coin game for sure.
Exactly, because you're aligning the incentives of the community, the developer, and the network for the first time ever. Because normally if developers want to extract value, they sell the token. But now they can create the value, farm the gas fees, and they're not forced to sell the token to fund the development. And so Sonic's done a really good job aligning the incentives of the community, the developer, and the network. And I really do think this is a narrative that hasn't caught on yet because it's kind of outside the scope of how most people understand crypto.
Yeah, totally. And I hear they're looking to boost their marketing budget. So Sonic, if you're listening.
Sonic, if you are listening, KOL deals, advertisements, you name it.
Exit Liquidity, we're looking.
All right, and I think on that bombshell, we were begging on both our hands and knees looking for a Sonic deal. Thank you so much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. My name is DeFi Daddy, and I'll pass it over to Senpai to wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm DeFi Senpai, and thanks so much for listening to our first episode of Exit Liquidity. We will hopefully do another episode in the coming weeks. Try and make this like a regular thing.
As long as you guys like it. Let us know in the comments. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks. Peace.
Take care.